Hey YouTube, welcome back to Artichoke Dip. How you doing, guys? This is it. This is the video. We're going to do a solo RPG and I'm going to explain everything to you. Now, before I get into this, I have already wrote up the adventure for the video. So, this is going to be more of a how-to video, but it's going to be a solo RP adventure, so you'll be able to see how I do things, and as I'm doing it, I'm going to explain them to you so you guys understand. Now, with any of my videos, if you enjoy them, please don't forget to click the subscribe, like, or leave me a question or comment. I always love to hear from you guys. I love answering your questions, and I will answer your questions to the best of my knowledge. And for you new subscribers, welcome to the solo RPG community. I hope this video helps you out a lot. I really want you guys to take something from this channel and get something from it, and I hope you really do have a great time at solo RPG. Now, let's get into what I'm going to be using to do a solo RPG. So as I said, I've already wrote up the adventure, I've already set up the terrain and all that, so I'll talk about that a little bit as we're doing the adventure. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you before we actually get into the solo RPG table is you're going to notice that my terrain setup may be a little bit more elaborate than some of you guys just getting into this may, want to get. Now, one thing I want to tell you is that I do also do 28mm miniature wargaming. So this is a lot of terrain that I use, and I'm going to focus on strictly the solo RPG. The terrain is just there to help put everything into perspective and scope for you guys, for the game board, so we can all understand. Now, if you're not familiar with miniatures and it's possibly something you would like to learn more about, let me know and I could always do a video on that. But today is all about solo RPG. That's what it's all about. Okay, solo RPG, the first rule, very first rule and most important rule is to keep it simple. Keep it simple, it'll move smoothly, and you're going to have fun with it. Try to stay away from very complex. You don't want complex. You don't want to be confused. You want to have fun. Another thing too, whether you're a veteran gamer just starting to play solo or you're new to this hobby, it does not matter. Start out very small. Start out with maybe a 2-3 room dungeon at first till you get the hang of everything and you get used to the way that the game emulator works and you find a way to how you want to tally up and keep all your information together that works for you, whether it's paper or paperless. Start out small till you get the hang of it. Once you get to the hang of it, then start branching out and doing a lot more. One other tip I'm going to give you is if you are using a already created campaign setting, which there's nothing wrong with that, what I suggest, and it's the way that I do it with solo RPGing, first thing you want to do is you want to go over the material, you want to look at everything, read over it first, become familiarized with it. Make a list of the areas that stand out the most to you, that you find interesting and you would like to actually play your solo RPG with. Go back to it, take that area and expand it out a little bit more, and make it last a couple game sessions, maybe 2-3 nights, and then move on to the next. And you'll find it's very rewarding and you'll have a lot of fun with it. The thing with a pre-made campaign setting is you pay that money because they make it so large and elaborate for you to have endless hours of fun with it, basically. And for a lot of them, like I said, I've never actually completed one from beginning all the way to end. I've just gotten to the point where I played a few key areas that I wanted to do some solo RPGing in, and then I moved on to other things. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So, let's move on to what we need for solo RPG. Very first thing, Gotta remember, it's proper caffeination. Second thing we're going to need a set, depending on what you're playing, a polyhedral dice. Now, a standard polyhedral dice set will have one 20-sided die, one 12-sided die, one 8-sided die, one 6-sided die, one 4-sided die that looks like a pyramid, and then you should have a 10-sided die and another 10-sided die that acts like your percentage. Now, if you don't understand how these work, if you notice you get these two dice right here, one will actually have your percentage on it, the other one will have a single number. If you roll a 20 to 0 with a 2, you would have 22%. So, depending on the game system you're playing, whether it's a silhouetted system, which I've explained silhouetted before, which is all standard 6-sided dice, a percentile game, which if you're playing percentage, you are already well versed in what percentage die are, or if you're playing something like Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, Basic Fantasy, Castles and Crusades, for example, you're going to use a polyhedral dice set. So first thing we need is a polyhedral dice set. I like to get a little dice tray like this. It kind of keeps everything in there and it doesn't roll all over the place. And especially if you have small children or even pets, believe it or not, when the stuff hits the floor, you know, I don't want to see any of your animals possibly get harmed from trying to chew on one of these and choke, or a small child. That would be horrible. So I keep the dice tray to keep everything in. Second thing we're going to need, characters. Already got those wrote up. They're right here. And these characters are made from Basic Fantasy. Basic Fantasy you can find on RPG Now. I believe you can download it for free on RPG Now. Amazon sells it for $5. It's $5 and some change. You can have it shipped right to your house. Can't go wrong there. Second thing we're going to be using, of course, what I've talked about extensively, is Mythic, our Mythic game emulator book. Third book I will be using will be the 3rd edition's Monster Manual. All of my encounters that you're going to see in the game today come out of here. Now you may be asking yourself, why am I using this instead of Basic Fantasy? This is 3rd edition rules with a old Basic Edition feel to it. All the encounters come right out of here. So it's just easier for me to go through here and find all the stats and everything I'm looking for than it is flipping through all this. So that's the reason why I do it, just to make it easier on me, to keep it simple. Now, the other thing you're going to want to keep, now regardless whether you want to do it paper or paperless, I use a piece of notebook paper. As you can see right here, I wrote down scene 2. I've already put in my chaos factor, which is an 8. And now, scene 1, as you notice, isn't written down here, but because for the video, scene 1 has already been made. And I'm going to explain that to you as we get into the game. So without further ado, let's get started with a little bit of the background. I have 2 characters that I'm using. One is a human cleric. His name is Gerard Vahal. The other one is a human fighter, and he has been knighted by the Temple of Pelor, and his name is Victor Habilas. Now, Victor and Gerard have just come back from retrieving a couple of artifacts for the temple, and they decided to stop in a small town, and in that small town, of course, every small fantasy town is a tavern, so they decided to stop into a tavern, get a drink and some dinner before they found accommodations for the evening. While they were in there, they ran across an old man, and he had a lot of lore about the land. So they decided, since they were representing the Temple of Pelor, they'd do the right thing, and they bought him a plate of food and a couple of ales and enjoyed his company for the evening. Well, in return for their kindness, he began to explain the lore of the land to them, around them. Now, in the halfway point of the travels going back to the temple, he explained about this area of forest that they are aware of. They have passed it several times, and a trail that leads off into some abandoned ruins that once used to be owned by a very rich king. Nobody ever knows what happened to the king or the kingdom. Speculation is that it came underneath siege and the king was killed, and his treasure was hidden, and nobody has ever found it. The old man swears that still, somewhere on those ruined grounds, is the treasure waiting to be found. Well, since Victor and Gerard were already ahead of schedule, they decided that they would leave at first light, stop by this area of forest, and see if this walking path that the old man told them that was there is actually there. And if it is, see if there is anything to his story. And with that, that was my scene 1. Now you see why I didn't put any chaos factor to it. We're going to go into scene 2. In order to go into scene 2, stick with me, because we got to go to the game board in order to get to scene 2. Hey guys, so here you have it. Here's the gaming table, and as you can see, I have everything laid out here. Now, you don't need anything this elaborate, I should say. I've played a lot of miniature wargaming over the years, and I have collected a lot of the pieces. Some of them I make. As you can see, I'm still in the creating stages of that tree over there. So, you know, you can actually just use a Chessex battle map that you can use dry erase marker on, and that works good. Or you can just use old-fashioned graph paper and draw it. The whole entire thing is when you play a solo RPG, is you want to be able to have a really good, clear idea of where everybody's at on the board for your encounters and your characters, and it just helps everything run smoothly. So, speaking of which, I had to run this video through a few times, had a couple of interruptions, and I had to restart, so I will be restarting this now for the 4th time. So hopefully we get to run through it all the way this time without any interruptions. So, my characters, Victor and Gerard, they have followed the directions that the old man in the tavern had gave them, and they came to the end of the path in the woods, and it went into a clearing that ended at a riverbank. Now, this is where my scene 2 starts, will be at the riverbank. So, the first thing I want to know is the river deep? Is it deep or is it shallow? Well, let me find out if it's deep or shallow. So I'm going to take my percentage die. I'm going to roll these. And if you remember, I said scene 2 has a chaos factor of 8. So we have rolled a 107. Going to Mythic, using the fate chart, I'm going to go to 8, and I'm going to go up to 107. So it only goes up to 110. It's 100. So I'm going to stick with that. And it says near a sure thing. So it is a deep river. So the fact that they can see it's a deep river, what I will do at this point is I want to be able to get a judge of how deep is it. Is it a 2 feet deep, 4 feet deep, 12 feet deep, so on and so forth. So I want to roll a perception check. And I'm going to have Victor do that first. Now, how I do this in my solo RPG, the easiest way to do it is take 10 and then add the level of the game that you're playing. So for example, this is a first level game I'm playing, so the difficulty class for the perception check will be a 11. So let's see what Victor gets. A 5. So Gerard, I'll do the same with him, and we'll see if he can see how deep it is. A 4. So both of them are unable to detect exactly how deep the river really is. And that's never a good thing. So the next thing I want to know is it a fast-moving current or a slow-moving current? I'm going to roll a perception check again before I go to the fate chart for that. I want to see if my characters can at least pick up on that. No, Victor, he can't tell, and Gerard can, and Gerard can tell something about the current. So we're going to go back to the fate chart, and I want to know, is it a fast-moving current? So I've rolled a 36 and going on 8, going up to 36. No, it's a very still river, but it is somewhat deep. So how deep is it? Is it over 4 feet deep? Since they can't tell, I want to go to the fate chart and see if it is or not before I make a decision of how I want to cross this river. A 91. So I got an 8 going up to 90. Yeah, it's somewhat likely that it's over 4 feet. That's going to be a little bit of a problem. So the best way it's looking like in order to get across here into the ruins, is which they came to see, or over go and check out these ruins over here, is looking like probably to take the most direct route. Now obviously you can see there's no game board over here, so that part of the world doesn't exist. So what I want to do now at this point is I want to see if my characters will be able to traverse this and get over to this area. Then I'm going to go back to the fate chart again and see if it's river still deep here or not. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at my character's attributes. So Victor, he has a dexterity of 15, and Gerard has dexterity of 15 as well. Well, we've already decided the difficulty class for this will be an 11. So I'm going to roll a 20-sider, and I'm going to send Victor over first, and he gets a +1 for his dexterity to this. He has a 17. So he has no problem traversing this area, and I'm going to say over to here, and he's standing, I'm going to move that tree slightly like that, standing on that shoreline. Now, let's do another perception check. Let's see if you can tell if it's deeper or shallow, more shallow there. He really can't tell. So let's go back to the fate chart and see. And once again, is it deeper or shallow? Deeper or shallow? I have a 19. On the 8, I go up here. It's not exactly 25, so I'm going to go with the 10, which is going to be impossible. It's not deep at all. Actually, it's very shallow, which, okay. So let's see how my cleric traverses this. We'll do the same thing with the difficulty class. He rolls a 9 +1. He doesn't do too well. So I'm going to say once he starts in here, he slides off into the water. Now, at this point, he's going to have to use his strength to try to pull himself back up on the shore. And that's what I'm going to roll first. Then I'm going to see if Victor will be able to assist him as well. But first things first, let's see if Gerard can pull himself up on the shore or if he's just going to sink. Well, he rolled a 12. His strength is a 15, so he did not roll outside the ability of his attribute score. And he gets a... So he is able to pull himself up out of the river back onto the shore up into this area without having any help. Now, I've already written this entire adventure out and put the encounters in for the sake of the video to keep things simple, but unbeknownst to them, and I want to do a perception check, with what's going on, and they're not going to be too perceptive as to what's going on out around here, because he just fell in the water, pulled himself out, and all that. But I just want to see if, and I'm going to do one roll for the both of them. No, that's what I thought. They're both, if you can't see that, I rolled a 1. They're both focused on him almost sinking to the bottom of the river with all his armor on, and he had to claw his way back out onto the shore. But what they're unaware of, from the deeps of the river, something begins to stir. So Victor moves up a little bit further, and I'm going to see if he can tell that the river is actually more shallow here than it was back over there. He rolls a 17. So he does notice that the river is actually more shallow. So the last time we went to the fate chart, it was over 4 feet deep. I want to see exactly how deep this is. So I'm going to say, let's see, is this 2 feet deep? Roll a 73. I go to the 8. Unlikely. So it's probably about foot 18 inches. About shin high. So Victor begins to cross the river to get to the dry area over here. Now when it comes to water movement, because he is crossing 18, you know, it's shin deep. As far as the movement goes, I consider each one of these hex grids 5 feet of movement. My characters have a total movement of 30 feet. But because they're in the water, it's going to be doubled. So it's going to cost him 20 movement points to move across here. So he's going to go 10, 20, 25, 30. He's up here. My cleric, the same thing. 10, 20, 25, we'll say 30. They're up on dry land. They found a shallow place to get to. So what I do with my scenes is, now that we know that there's a shallow area right here, which we didn't know at the beginning of our adventure, I write that down on the scene. And the reason why I do this is if later on I decided to revisit this area again, I can always reference back to my notes and go, oh yeah, I remember that. So I'm going to put cross river, shallow, by large tree. Okay. And this is all for demonstration purposes, guys. This is just to help you guys see how to do a solo RPG. Alright. You remember what I told you earlier? There's something moving around in here that they were unaware of? When they step up on the shore, and once again we have a perception check. So that's going to be an 11. But the guys that are coming out of the water, I want to see here, they do have an ability to move silent, which will give them a +3. So they're going to need a perception check of a 14 or better to be able to notice this. Let's see what they get. A 3. They're oblivious. So unknown to them, creatures start rising from the deep of the river. They begin to move towards the ruin site to investigate a little bit more, and they're unaware of the danger coming up behind them. Now, at this time, it would be time to roll initiative. And how I tally up scores and keep all that is what I do is I write down everything right here. And I've already done that for them for the encounters. Victor has an 11 initiative, Gerard has a 6, and the encounter has 7. Now the way that I do it is I just write up encounter and I recycle that, and then I can write other notes about the encounters, hit points, and all that. And I got the whole page, so I'm not wasting too much paper. And it works out really easy that way, rather than doing an entirely new initiative set with all their names in the mont. That gets boring after a while. And you use a lot more paper. And it's just a waste of paper, basically. Anyways, off the waste of paper thing. So, the fact that they're unaware, they have the initiative this round. So they get 1 sneak attack. And that's what they're going to do. They step up here, here, and here. Now, obviously, he'll be able to get an attack on him, and he will be able to get an attack on him. This really stinks. Now, when I do my RPGs, normally what I like to do is get 1 color 20-sider for the encounter, and then I get 1 particular color 20-sider for each character. That way, that's how I keep everything organized for myself. So, how I like to do it, I'm going to say blue is for Victor. The swirl color is for Gerard. And the orange 20-sider is the encounter. So they're going to take their attack first. Now, their attack, using a spear, they get a +3 to melee. That's horrible. So this guy gets a +3 to his attack on the fighter, Victor. 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, let's see what Victor's armor class is. Victor has an armor class of 14. Does not hit him. But he's quite aware of what's there now. But unfortunately, before they can act, he still gets his sneak attack on him. So let's roll that on up. He gets a 12 + 3, which is 15. The cleric has, or Gerard, has an AC of 14. He does hit. Now, unfortunately, his spear damage does 1d8 + 1. He does 3 points of damage to Gerard. Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch. So that would put him at 15 right now. Okay. Well, now the normal initiative is going to take place. So, Victor is going to get first. He's going to turn around and he's going to slash at that guy. So, let me roll a 20-sider. He gets a 16. And Victor has a +2 attack bonus. Their AC is an 18, so he has 16, so right on, 18. His weapon does 1d8 + 2. So, with his sword, he rolls a 5 + 2, which is a 7. These particular guys I did tone them down a little bit for the game to make things a little bit more balanced. Otherwise, they would have been massively overpowered and probably killed them right away. So, what I do at this point, I have 4 of these guys. So I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when it comes to damage, I utilize regular old black and white dice, and I put those on the board to keep track of who's 1, 2, 3, 4. So, this will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, and this will be 4. So, Victor attacked him, which is number 1. He has 8 hit points, and he just took 7. Cross that out. He has 1 remaining. Now, I put my tally mark on there, and I go to Gerard. Gerard will turn around, and he's going to attack who tried to attack him. So let's see how this pans out here. Oh, he rolled a 1. He failed miserably. So, unfortunately, now it's their turn again. Hopefully my characters make it through this. So he will attack him again. And he gets a +3. So he has a 7. That's a 10. He misses. He's going to attack the cleric. A 1. He misses. Now, as you can see here, because I have this area covering, he's going to be unable to pass through this way. So he's going to be locked up, and it's going to be impossible for him to pass through. Even this is a friendly spot because he's encountered. So these 2 guys are going to be locked up for the rest of this turn. And I'm going to start it back over at the top of the batting list to Victor again. Just going to see if we can wipe that guy out. So rolls a 10 plus 2. No. He needs an 18. He only got a 12. So now I'm going to go back to these guys. They're number 7. They're number 2 in the initiative round. They get to go. And this guy going after my cleric is a 13 plus 3. That's a 16. Unfortunately, it does hit my cleric again. 1d8 plus 1. He takes 4 more points of damage. Ouch! This might be a quick demonstration here, guys. Things keep going this way. Alright, mark down my hit points there for my guys. Now it is, let me turn this sideways. Too many pieces of paper going on here. It is now Gerard's turn. Gerard is going to try to attack him again, and hopefully he does better this round than he did last. 18 without any bonuses. He hit. He howls a 1d8 plus 1 weapon. So roll my d8. 5 plus 1 is 6 to number 2. So he's down to 2 HP. Now, unfortunately, these guys have not moved, so everything's kind of tied up and bottlenecked right here, which is actually good right now for my guys because I think they're going to need some healing after this. But back to the top of the batting order is going to be Victor. Victor is going to try to wipe this guy out. Come on, Victor. You can do this. You can do this. Nope. He missed. And it's the encounter's turn again, so they're going to attack again. He's going to attack my fighter. Nope. 9. He's going to attack the cleric. 11. Nope. That's good. Whew. That's real good. Now, my cleric's going to attack him, and hopefully he can get him off the board. Oh, rolled a 1. No, it's not happening. So it goes back to Victor again. Hopefully Victor can get this done. Come on, you're supposed to be a fighter. No, a 3. This is not going good whatsoever. So, it's going to go back to the encounters. The Kotoya is going to attack him. He rolls an 8. It's a miss. He's going to attack him. Rolls a 5. That's a miss. It goes back to the cleric here. Come on, roll better. Throw me a bone here. A 7. Well, it's better than a 1, but it's still a miss. And now it goes back to Victor. Come on, Victor. Come on, Victor. 13 plus 2. Is it 2? Yep. Good. It's a good roll, but not good enough. Still a miss. The encounters, their turn again. $12. No. Even with no. When you got a 12 plus 3, 15. He hits my fighter. Is a 4. Plus 1 is a 5. My fighter takes 5 points of damage. So, you guys can actually see in here, the reason why I say in my introduction video that it's always a good idea to use 2 20-siders for your characters, just for this example. It gives them the upper hand and makes it a little bit more well-balanced in a solo type of gaming. So, I'm going to finish out the encounters round, and then we're going to do that. We're going to add an extra 20-sider here for both the rolls, and you'll see how the game actually changes. Okay, a 7 for him is a miss. No. No hit. So now it goes to Gerard. So I'm going to use Gerard's 20-sider. I'm going to use an additional 20-sider. I'm going to roll both, and I'm going to take the highest one. So I have a 5 and a 4. Wow, he's just doing incredibly horrible. So, that's a miss. It goes back to Victor. Hopefully he does better. He rolls a 4 and a 9. He misses. Oh, God, what's going on here? Okay, it's the encounter's turn. He's going to attack him. Misses. He's going to attack him. 12 plus 3 is a 15, and a 1 plus 1 is 2, and he takes another 2 points of damage. My cleric takes another 2 points of damage. That is just horrible. Oh. Okay. So, back over to the cleric, Gerard. Okay, maybe if I give these dice a little kiss, they'll do better this time. Come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, give me a hit. Oh, yes, a 17 and an 18. It worked. I'll be taking the 18, and he will deal his damage to that guy right there. 6 plus 1 is 7. Well, number 2 only had 2 hit points left. He is dead. He is off the board and gone. Boom. So, now it goes to the top of the batting order to Victor. And utilizing the 2 dice, give him a kiss again. Come on. Come on, Victor, you can do this. Oh, an 11 plus 2 is not enough. So he misses. So, now it's going to go back to the encounter. I forgot to tally those last turn. So the encounter, which really stinks, he's still there. He sees an open spot and moves up this way. He's going to move up to fill in his spot there. And he's going to attack him. A 2. That's a miss. He's going to attack him. A 9, which is a miss. Whew, that's great. Okay. Now it's Gerard's turn. Gerard's going to attack him, and hopefully he gets another awesome roll. Come on, awesome roll. Come on. Okay. I rolled a 1 and a 10. It's still a miss, but I'll take the 10. No hit. So now it goes back to Victor. 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 Come on, wipe him out. Rolls a 1 and a 9. It's a miss. I can't believe how horrible these dice are doing. Just absolutely horrible. Alright. Now it's the encounter's turn. So the Kotoi. Same thing. He's going to attack him. Oh my god, he rolls a 19. 1 plus 1 is 2, so Victor takes 2 more points of damage. So now he'll be down to 11. This guy's going to attack him. Rolls a 19. Man, that's just... Maybe it's because they're green. They got the luck of the Irish. I don't know. 2 plus 1, 3. So Gerard takes 3 more points of damage, which will bring him down to 8. Ouch. Alright. Well, hopefully the cleric will pull this one off and start kicking some major butt. Let's see how this goes. An 18 and the 12. We're going to take the 18. He rolls damage. 3 plus 1 is 4. Number 3 there. Well, he is a fresh encounter, but he's at half life now, which is better than nothing. So now it's Victor's turn again. Victor, come on. A 13, I'll take that. Plus 2 will be 15. Still not enough. They got an AC of 18. He still misses. These guys are tough. So now it's the encounter's turn. And he's going to attack him. An 11. It's not good enough. He's going to attack him. 18. Ouch. The cleric takes 3 more points of damage. That's just horrible. Okay. Well, hopefully the cleric will come through on this turn. He's going to have to do something, otherwise these guys are doomed. Doomed. No, a 2 and a 9. No good. So now it's going to go back over to Victor. Come on, Victor. Mwah. Oh. a 14 and a 15. Taking the 15, it's going to be 17. It's still not enough to hit him. It's still a miss. Now it's back to the encounters, and he's going to attack him. 14 plus 3 is 17. That hits him. He takes, oh my god, 9 points of damage. Holy cow, he's down to 2 points now. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Alright, he's going to attack him. 10 will not be enough. Thank God the cleric's still going strong. Now it's Victor's turn again. Man, come on. Come on, get a good roll here, buddy. Get a good roll here. Oh, 17 plus 2, he hits. He does damage. 5 plus 2, I believe it is. Yep, is 7. But number one has only got 1 hit point left. He is beyond dead. He is just a grease spot on the stonework there at this moment. Alright, the encounter's turn. This guy's going to step up here. And unfortunately, we'll start with him. He attacks Victor. 13 plus 3 is 16. He hits. He does 7 points of damage. Alright guys, so stuff's getting serious here, and we're gonna have to do something to make things better. So as I said, secret to gaming, proper caffeination. Alright, so Victor has taken some serious wounds, and he is now unconscious at this point, leaving Gerard hopefully to save the day. Now this is horrible because both of these guys are going to attack him. So the first attack is a 14 plus 3 is a 17. That's a hit. The second attack is a 17. Oh my god. 6 plus 1 is a 7. 3 plus 1 is a 4. 8, 9, 10 is an 11. And Gerard only has 5. Now Gerard is also unconscious. Or dead. Yeah, I kind of grossly overestimated these guys, and I guess I should have toned them down a little bit more, but as you can see, it did not work out that way. But we're going to keep moving on with the video anyways. Good example as to when you set up your counters, just be careful not to make them too overpowerful, otherwise you die. But you know what, I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with just the dice just were not rolling in my favor. So, obviously if you're playing a solo RPG and you encountered this would be the end of your story. Your characters are done. And roll the credits, so to speak. But with this, we are just going to move ahead with the encounter and go into the keep at this point. So, with that being said, we'll pretend that the Kotoi were defeated, even though we know that they were not. And they're going to press on towards the keep. So as they move up to the keep, they notice that the door has rotted off the hinges and fell sideways into the keep. And the only way to access it will be to climb up over the door to get into it. But before I do that, I want to do a perception check and see if I can see anything inside of there. So, like I said, 10 plus the level 1 will be 11. I'm going to roll. Victor's going to look in there and see if he sees anything moving around. 7 plus 1 is an 8. No, he can't really see anything too much. Now, I already pre-wrote this, and I know it's going to happen. But let's see if these guys can pick up on something. So the cleric is going to take a look and see if he sees anything out of the ordinary. He rolls a 15. He notices some bizarre noises he heard around this area that sound like they're coming from beneath the door. So, to continue on with our video, because I didn't want to end it there with the two characters being dead on the walk there, I'm just going to say... we are going to start a new scene here. So, starting the new scene, you're going to go to your log, and I'm going to put scene 3, and this will be keep entrance. And now I'm going to roll a 10-sider to assign a chaos factor to this. And I have rolled a 5. So we got a chaos factor 5. Alright. So, which, at this point, if you were playing a solo RPG, you would go back to your fate chart, go to your 5, and at that point, roll your percentage die to see if you could see anything inside that was standing out. Which we can do that, and I'll do that for both of them right now. They have 20. I have a 5. I go up here to the 20, and it says very unlikely. They really don't see anything out of the ordinary looking into the entrance inside to keep what they can see right here. Which works out pretty well, because that's exactly the way I kind of wrote it. So, anyways, Gerard signals to Victor that he sees some movement from underneath that movement, but he heard a bizarre noise coming from this area, kind of like a hissing noise. So Victor's going to draw and ready his, actually he's going to ready his short bow, is what he's going to do. And he motions for him to back up. And that's what he does. So he's standing here with his arrow nocked, aimed in this direction, waiting to see. So, to his surprise, they see these weird feelers, large feelers, come out from underneath the door, moving around like that, followed by a body that's moving with several legs, and as the entire girth of this thing comes out from underneath this rotted door, they see exactly what it is. And it's a giant centipede that comes out, smelling fresh meat. So now at this point, like as I explained before, the reason why I do my encounter list the way I do is it makes it very easy to just erase the tally marks, and I'll have my two guys, my encounter, and I'm going to roll initiative. So first I'm going to start with Victor. 13 plus 1 is a 14. Gerard. 11 plus 1, we'll put them at a 12. And then for the encounter, 7, I'm going to give him a 1, and that'll be 8. Okay, so top of the batting order will be Victor, so I'll put a tally mark there, and he's going to fire an arrow off at that one. So, rolling the 2 dice and taking the higher of the 2. Oh, hold on a sec, I have to get to the encounter page. Now, one thing that I do, just like this, and it does help speed things up, is jot on your notes. If you put your encounters already in destination points on your map, when you write down your encounter as to what you're looking for, just write down the page number out of whatever manual you're pulling your encounters out of. It helps save a lot of time when you can just go straight to the page and not have to thumb through the guide looking for it, or trying to remember where you've seen it at. And there we are. Great. All right. And this thing has 18 hit points and an AC of 16. So I'm just going to jot that down here just for my notes. Then I'm going to put 18. There's only one, so there's really no point of assigning anything more than that dice. Which will bring me to a point, you know, if you don't have a lot of miniatures and just to keep track of encounters on your board, I like to use old black and white dice and, like I said, the numbering system. I have white, red, and gray. And if you're dealing with multiple encounters, it really helps because I can write down on a piece of paper, you know, W 1 through 6, R 1 through 6, and then G for gray 1 through 6, and keep track of everything that's going on. And it works out really good. Like if you're running the game and it starts to run kind of late into the night and you have to continue it on to the next day, you can always come back and everything is still numbered and everything is right where it's at, and you can pick up right where you left off, which is a good thing. Anyways, back to the battle. So Victor's gonna roll first, and taking the higher of the 2 rolls. As soon as I find my dice here. An 8 and a 2. It's not gonna help him. Man, you know what? I have to do it. I'm sorry, but I need some new dice. These dice are just not doing well for me. They're doing horrible. Let me see here. So I think I will use this one. That one's talking to me. So I'm going to pull these 2 suckers out and just get rid of them out of there, because for some reason they seem to be cursing me. They're laughing at me. Alright, the next one will be Gerard. Gerard, since he's a cleric, he really doesn't have access to any type of ranged weapons. He does have a mace, and he's going to use the mace. He is going to take a step towards it, and hopefully this works out for the best. So let's see how this goes. Oh, and 19. And he rolls, his damage is a 1d8 plus 1. So he does 2 points of damage. That's not too bad. You know what? I'm not complaining, and I'm going to take that. So that puts the sucker down to 16. The giant centipede hisses with pain and then rears up its front half of its torso, exposing its large mouthful of razor sharp teeth and its hypodermic needle looking jaws to grasp flesh and rip it from the bone, and goes to attack the cleric, who's so close to it right now for a fresh meal. And he gets a bite at a +4 melee. So let's hope it rolls low. Oh, he gets a bite into him. The bite does a 1. Now I toned it down for these guys. Does a 1d6. He takes 5 points of damage. That took a pretty good chunk out of his leg, I would have to say. You know, I hate centipedes. Alright. So now, going back to... I got my tally marks. It will be Victor's turn. Victor... Now, at this point, it seems foolish to keep using his bow. I think what he will do is drop the bow and unsheath his sword, take a step in, and attack. That would be what I would do. To save my comrade there. So I rolled a 15 and an 11. I'll take the 15 plus 2 is... Sorry, excuse me. Is a 16, which hits his AC right on. His damage is a 1d8 plus 1. He rolls 4. He delivers 5 points of damage, which brings this thing down to 11, which is a lot better than what it was before. Gerard sees what's going on, and he's going to take a step back out of the action and try to address his wound for a moment. And he does have 1 healing potion left, plus he's also got the ability to heal, but he's going to use his healing potion. And how many hit points he gets? 8 according to the dice, so he is right back up to full health after the start of the next round. So now it's the encounter's turn against him. And he, oh geez, thing rolls a 20, that's horrible. And he does 5 points of damage to Victor, which puts Victor at 13. Oh man. Wow. I think I need another sip of energy drink here. Okay. So now, top of the batting order will be Victor. And hopefully he can kill this thing. 13. So I'll take a 13 plus 2. It's 15. It needs a 16 in order to hit it. And close, but no cigar. Gerard, that's now all healed up, he's going to step in and take another swing. And hopefully put some hurting on this thing. And he doesn't. He rolls a 6 and a 2. Now it's the encounter's turn. So when you got 1 encounter and 2 characters, what I like to do is take a 6-sided die. Gerard will be 1 through 3. Victor will be 4 through 6. Let's see who creature is going to attack. 4. It's going to be Victor. Man. And he rolls a 16, which he hits. And Victor takes 2 more points of damage. So now, top of the batting order, will be back to Victor again. Rolling the 2, taking the highest. Come on, baby. Roll a 19. I will take that. He rolls a 7 on a 1d8 plus 1 for his bonus is 8. So he delivers 8 points of damage to this creature. which puts him at 3 hit points. Now, if Gerard can come through, this thing is toast. So Gerard swings up his mace. Let's see if he delivers. Lucky 7s, 2 7s, but not lucky in this situation. So now it's the giant centipede's turn. And once again, I'm going to roll a d6, same thing. If I roll a 1 through 3, he's going to attack the cleric. If I roll a 4 through 6, he's going to attack the fighter. So let's see. He rolls a 3. He's going to attack the cleric. And he rolls an 18. And he does 3 points of damage. Jeez Louise. Well, it's a good thing he took that healing earlier. Okay, it's back to Victor. Victor is going to roll the 2, take the highest. Takes 19. Rolls a 4 plus 1 is 5. Victor swings up his sword and delivers the final fatal blow to the creature. And its insect blood squirts all over the place as it dies, and I am so happy because they didn't die this turn. Okay. So now the giant insect has been slain. What my characters are going to do is they're going to do another perception check to make sure that the coast is absolutely clear before they try crossing that door. So, as I said before in the beginning, we're going to use 10 plus the level 1, which will be a difficulty class 11. We have a 16. So they inspect the door. They do not see anything underneath it. No more movement. They don't hear anything. And at this point, they feel pretty safe to enter. So, I'm going to say Victor steps up into here. Gerard behind him. Victor's going to look around and see if he sees any obvious traps or overhanging obstructions, anything like that that could possibly maim or kill them. So going back to my chaos factor, I have a chaos factor of 5, and I'm going to look up around the door and see if he sees anything. He has a 22. Using the chaos factor 5, going up. Now it goes from 15 to 25, and I roll a 22. So I'm going to go back to the 15, and he does not see anything in the way that would be a possible danger to them in the doorway, trap, or anything like that. The adventurers at that point enter the keep. I'm going to set them down here. So, as the adventurers enter the keep, they don't really see anything that strikes their interest, for the fact that the interior of the inner keep is very weathered and decayed. From what they can see, the top floor has caved into the second and is now a pile of rubble scattered all over the base of the keep. Now I'm talking about if they were looking inside of this tower right here. Let me move the dice out of the way. They're looking inside of this tower right here. They're not inside the tower, they're just looking from this perspective into the tower from what they can see. The only thing of interest that they can see is a shut cellar door. They can see what appears to be a cellar door over here into the keep area. So as they look through, they see a door, and they just have to cross over into the pit. Now, I have put a trap into this area. Now, since they're not thieves and they have no way of detecting traps or anything of that likelihood, I am going to go to page 99 in the Mythic, and I'm going to go to my scaling box right here. Now, as they walk across the floor, they notice it is very sandy. I want to see if either one of them notice anything odd about that, considering they're inside of a large stone structure. So I'm going to roll a percentage die, and first I'm going to do it for Victor. And he has a 17, so I come down here to the 17. No, he just kind of thinks it's the norm and doesn't think anything more about it and continues to walk. The cleric, who has a 57%, has average. So the fact that he has average, I'm going to roll a perception check for him. Now, this is going to be a little bit higher difficulty class than the normal perception check because he's looking for something that's kind of out of his scope of training. So I'm going to say a 15. I want to see if he notices anything about the floor. He rolls a 1. So he finds that the floor is kind of odd to be that sandy and soft, but follows Victor across the floor. So as they get halfway across this part of the keep, entering the inner keep, the floor begins to give out beneath them. They fall into a pit and are now 10 feet below ground level. The soil is real sandy and soft, so it kind of cushioned their fall. It's more as they fell through and in. As they try to basically crawl their way back out of the pit, they notice that the sandy sides of the wall are so soft that you just keep crumbling and sliding them back down towards the center of the pit. Now, I'm going to roll a standard perception check, and it's an 11. They both notice that once they fell into this pit area, there's a little crevice that opens up that leads out of the pit. They can feel some cool air coming through there. So I'm going to go to the scaling box. Victor looks in and sees if he can see anything, any movement or any dangers in this area, because it's going to be their only way out. It's above average, and as he looks in there, he doesn't really see anything because he can see a straight shot through it, but he doesn't see anything down there that is going to warrant any danger towards him. So at this point, they begin to maneuver through this tunnel. Okay, guys. So now we get to take this map off. Bear with me for a moment. I am moving as quickly as I can. Ugh. If I had a lot more room than I have, I would have been able to make this a little bit larger, but you know what? This actually worked out, and I think you guys will kind of actually like this as to what I'm going to show you. So, as they exit out the other side of this small tunnel, they wind up into this area here. Now, if any of you guys are wondering, had they noticed that that area of the floor was weak like it was, and they were able to avoid it and go to the cellar door, they would have found a ladder that would have led them down to the same point they're at now. So, if anybody's wondering. So as they move out, they are now below the keep, and they're into a subterranean area. Now, the one thing that they do notice is that the walls are very crudely cut for a dungeon, if you want to use that term, for underneath a keep like this. So the keep entrance, and we're going to finish out that scene, and I'm going to write encountered giant centipede, pit trap, in main keep hall. Then I'm going to write down found tunnel in pit area leading below keep. Alright, so now we're going to go to scene 4. Scene 4 is going to be, I'm just going to call this the keep dungeon. So it's keep dungeon, and of course we're going to have to assign a chaos factor to this. And let me just get everything reorientated here because I kind of moved everything on the fly. And let's roll our percentage die and compare it to what the mythic fate chart has to say. Oh, I rolled a 4 for my chaos factor. So I'm going to put CF 4. And there we have it. So as they come out into this tunnel, and their eyes are trying to adjust because it's very, very dark in this area, obviously. They're in a subterranean location now. Victor is going to take a torch out, so I'm going to cross the torch off of my inventory. He is going to light the torch and get that going. Now, in game terms, a way that I like to run light, whether it be a lantern or a torch, it illuminates the same amount of movement in a radius around you. So 30 feet is what his torch will actually illuminate. So starting here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So anything beyond this area, he really can't see. It's extremely dim. But he can make out what's in front of him in this area. Same as the cleric, because he's holding the light source. So he's going to have a sword in one hand and holding the torch in the other. And the cleric will be bringing up the rear with his mace already armed, ready to go for whatever life can throw at them. So, first thing Victor is going to do is he's going to peer into the darkness and see if he sees anything, any movement, anything bizarre that catches his attention. 02, 102. So he notices as the light is illuminating the walls, as to, it almost appears as if the system that they're in was a large burrow tunnel, not so much as a man-made structured area. And he passes that knowledge on to the cleric and says, we need to be on our best guard, because he says, I think there is some trouble afoot, basically. So with that being said, he's going to take his movement, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. He'll follow up behind him. As they get up here, they can clearly see that this intersects. This runs this way out into the darkness, and it illuminates a little bit of this area over here, but they can't see what's in there, neither what's in here. So now when you get to this part, guys, you can either just pick a room and say, hey, I'm going to go over here, or I'm going to go over there. Or if you want to completely leave it up to chance, you can use a 6-sider. You could use percentage dice, whatever you want to do. In this case, let's use a 6-sider. We'll say, if it's 1 or a 2, we're going to go in here. If it's a 3 or a 4, we're going to go this way. If it's a 5 or a 6, we're going to go straight. It's a 4. So we're going to decide to go this way. So Victor turns the corner and enters into this area. As he enters into that area, I'm going to roll my perception check here for him and see how this works out. Same perception check as we've been using. 10 plus the level, which is 1, which will be 11. 15. He sees something that he does not like too much, and it may even make him soil his armor a little bit. Just bear with me, I'm just going through my notes here real quick. As he walks into this area, he starts to notice a familiar sight that sends chills up his spine. Strewn across the floor are the human bones everywhere. Like something has been feeding on humans, luring them maybe into this area. Now, he's here, he stops. Now, I want to roll for my cleric. And I'll explain to you why here in a second. My cleric is going to cast Protection from Evil. And that will give him a +2 to his AC and a +2 to saves and a possession barrier. So he casts that on himself. And I'm going to roll his perception right now. Get that out of the way there. So he rolls a 12. He feels that something's not right in this area. Something does not sit right with him. And he cannot figure out just exactly what that may be. But he knows whatever it is not good. Victor slowly enters this area. And Gerard follows him up. As he walks across the floor, the sound of crunching bones is heard. Crunch, crunch, crunch beneath his feet. Unknown to him, because I wrote this in here, there in that room is a evil artifact. It's actually a pendant that is lying amongst the bones of the remains underneath here of a necromancer. When Victor was walking through, he disturbed it and reactivated the artifact by jarring it. But he's unaware to see it because he's not magically trained, so he doesn't know what he's looking for. The cleric senses something evil in here, but he doesn't know what it is, and he doesn't see anything. The artifact activates, and then it's at this time that they both hear a sound of clinking bones together, and they witness a sight that is horrifying in nature for them to see. Human bones coming together by some magical force, forming skeletons of the beings they were once in their former life, to stand and try to kill them and keep them down here amongst themselves in the undead filled caverns beneath this keep. So, at that, guys, we're going to go back to our encounter page. And we're going to do our initiative up again. Going to do Victor first. 8 plus 1 is a 9. Going to do Gerard. 18 plus 1 is a 19. And then the encounter, which will be an 18. Wow. So, starting with Gerard. Gerard's feeling pretty good. He's got a divine spell on him right now, and he's got a mace that he gets a +1 against undead. But before we get into that, let's number everything so we know what is what on the game board. So to keep it simple, I'm just going to go around this way. I'm going to say this guy's number 1. This guy's number 2. This guy's number 3. And this guy's number 4. So now I've already wrote down my encounter. Now I just go to my quick note in here and go right to the page, which makes this so much simpler. Okay, and there we have it. We have our skeletons, which these, compared to what we've been doing before, should be relatively easy. So, how I would do this, if I was fighting multiple skeletons, and let's just say we had 18, and utilizing my 3 different colored dice, I'm going to put W, 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 W for white. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I had 4 red, I'd put R, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I had my gray dice, G, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just to keep things simple. And simple for you to keep everything rolling good. Okay, guys. So, Gerard winds up with his mace. He's going to step over here to number 4 and give him a taste of some righteous Paylor, we hate the undead mace thing. And he rolls an 11. Plus 1 is a 12. These skeletons have a AC of 13, but he gets the plus 1 to hit, which takes him to 13. So he does a 1d8 plus 1 damage. So he does 4 damage to the first skeleton. And it has 6 hit points, so all of them actually have 6. Does 4. Takes number 4. That's too many 4s. Down to 2. Alright, the skeleton's turn. He's going to attack him. This guy's got a clear sight to Victor, so he's just going to move right up on him. Just like that. This guy, as you can see, he's got this rubble. He's going to have to go around. Or he could try to move up onto the rubble like so. We'll do that. Okay. So, first attack, he's going to attack back at Gerard. He rolls a 15. He does hit. Ew. And he does 1d4. So he does 1 point of damage to Gerard. Or does he? No, he does not. Because Gerard had his divine spell, Protection from Evil, which gives him plus 2 to his AC, which will take him up to a 16. So the skeleton does nothing. So now, these guys, it's obvious who they're going to be attacking. They're going to clobber Victor. So number 1, 19, that's a hit. Number 2, a 1, that's a miss. Number 3, 17, that's a hit. Eesh. So Victor takes a grand total of 5 points of damage. I think after this little demonstration, I'm going to retire these guys because they're just not doing too well. Okay. Now it's Victor's turn. Victor, I mean, he's kind of overwhelmed, so he's just going to attack him right there. That's going to be the simplest solution to all of this. Now, he doesn't have any spells or bonuses or anything like that. He's a fighter. It is what it is. So let's see what he gets. A 6 and a 2. He misses. Goes back to Gerard. Gerard is going to wind up. And he gets a plus 1 to his attack because he's attacking the undead. 4s. So he doesn't hit anything. It goes back to the skeletons. He's going to attack him. A 15. He has a 14. It does not hit Victor because of the spell he has. I mean, not Victor, but Gerard because of the spell he has on him right now. Victor, he's getting 3 attacks here. The first one's a 4. It's a miss. The second one is a 17. It's a hit. And the third. Okay, so I have rolled the damage, and Victor has taken 5 points of damage, which leaves Victor, the unvictorious, down to 1 point, clinging to life. And now it will be Gerard's turn again. This time he's going to try to call upon his deity, Pelor, and pull out his symbol and try to turn the undead. So I'm going to flip to the section in my basic fantasy book. We are going to go to here, cleric level. The skeletons is a 13. So I'm going to take my 2 20s. Roll them, taking the highest. And I have an 11 and an 18. Of course, I'm going to take the 18. And I'm going to roll 2d6 to see how many skeletons are turned. And it'll be a total of 9. Well, there's only 4. So as he's holding up this symbol, the skeletons stop what they're doing as far as the battle and begin to disperse from the area, slowly moving away from them. Say they're there right now. So Gerard will come over here to try to heal up Victor. Now, while this is all going on, this clinking mob of skeletons is moving out this way into the main corridor. Gerard is attending to Victor's wounds, and luckily Victor has one healing potion as well, but he doesn't anymore, and he is now going to use that healing potion, and he will gain 2 hit points out of the deal. So, I am going to go to my scaling box, because there's another encounter in here, and I want to see if the clinking noise of these skeletons walking across the stone floor has possibly woken this thing from its slumber. So we will see. Let's roll our percentage die and see what we get. So 40. 21 to 40, it's a below average. No. They have moved along undetected, and I'm going to say once they have got past this area, they are just out of sight. They are gone. They are uninterested now in what's going on here. So with this area pretty much being explored, being the small area it is, Gerard's going to look around a little bit and see if he can locate the source of where this evil is coming from. And once again, I'm going to go back to my scaling box, and I'm going to roll. I got a 43. So he has an average chance of being able to locate this basically artifact of whatever it may be. So I'm going to have him do a search check and see if he's going to be able to find it. And I'm going to use his wisdom score here. Now, how I do my attributes is I will roll the 20-sider. If I roll higher than my attribute number, it fails. If I roll at the attribute number or below, it succeeds. So let's roll a 20-sider and see if he locates it. 16. His wisdom is a 16, right on. Well, what Gerard finds is he locates a pendant and a necklace that is partially buried underneath some rubble, and it's radiating off evil necromantic magic energies. So he is kind of on the fence as to whether he should take it and possibly destroy it or leave it in the dungeon. So, with that being said, let's go to the fate chart and let's see what the fate chart says. Now, if you remember correctly, in this scene, we have a chaos factor of 4. Let me roll these. 71. So I go under 4, I run up to 71. Well, it goes from 55 to 75. So I'm going to take the 75 It says very likely. So Gerard decides to pick up the artifact and to take it with him to destroy it properly so it can't fall into the hands of anybody else. So with that, he scoops up the artifact and he puts it in his backpack to take it back to the temple to have it destroyed. So I'm going to write on here, put it into my inventory. I'm going to put Necromanic, pendant to raise undead. I'll put to raise dead. That sounds better. Alright. So they venture out of this room and they return themselves back up here to the corridor. Now, I want to roll and see if this thing has noticed them. So I'm going to use my scaling box again, page 99. Got 43. And there's an average amount that this thing may have noticed them. So, let me look at and this is how I would do this with the encounter. I'm going to look at the dexterity score, attribute scores of both my characters here. So one has a 15. Actually, they both have a 15. That makes it easy. So I'm going to roll a 20-sider for this encounter. If it gets a 15 or higher, it is aware of their presence. If not, then it's not aware. So let's see. It rolls a 9. It is unaware of their presence. And they are very lucky for that, because it's kind of ugly. So they get back out to the corridor. And as they get to the corridor, I'm going to roll a perception check for them right now. I'm going to explain to you why. So standard 10 plus the level 1 makes it 11. A 3. Nope, they're unaware of it, so I will go back to using my 6-sided dice. 1 through 3, they're going to move into this area. 4 through 6, they're going to continue up that way. Oh, and I rolled right off the table. Let's try this again. A 1. So they decide to head into this area. Now, I am going to go back to the fate chart, because the way everything's been going, I want to see if this thing is possibly sleeping, and that's why they have gone undetected. So utilizing, I have a chaos factor 4, and I have rolled 41. So I go to a 4, well, it goes from 35 to 50. So 35 is what I'm going to use there, is a 50-50 chance. Okay. So this is what I do when I come upon that, the 50-50. I'm going to roll the percentage die again. If it rolls high, there's a very good chance the thing it's asleep, and that's why they've gone unnoticed. If I roll low, then that means it is not asleep, and it's just waiting for them to get into close proximity to be able to strike. So let's see how this goes. 91%. So the thing is asleep. So in here, I'm going to say once they get here, they're going to do a perception check or spot check. I use perception check, as it kind of blankets everything, as a spot perception is to what they perceive, what they see. But we'll call it a perception check. And let's see what I get. A 6. Well, Victor doesn't see it. Let's see if the cleric sees it. A 4. No. They continue into this area. Once inside, their torch illuminates this whole entire area. They see a large, hulking beast that seems to be slumbering on the floor. Let me get to my page so I know. Page 18, all right. This thing has the body of, I'm going to say, a cockroach with 6 legs. And its massive legs, the ends come to very sharp points. Its head has 2 large eyes with a mouth full of tentacles and 2 large mandible pinchers on the end. Now, here is the question. Has the torchlight disturbed this thing from its slumber? That is the question. So let's go back to the scaling box and see if the torchlight actually woke this thing, or if they have the chance to get out. 95. Incredible chance. As the torchlight hits its eyes, this thing awakens and becomes aware to their presence. As its eyes open, it opens up its massive mandibles and lets out a large screech that echoes through this underground network. They're faced with a large insect beast, a formidable enemy that could end that adventure right here, right now. And we are going to find out. Okay. So, first thing we need to do is roll up our initiative. So using the 20-sider, for Victor, he has 11 plus 1 is 12. Gerard, it's a 19 plus 1 is 20. The encounter is a 15. And so it begins. So Gerard, being the first one, what do I want to do with Gerard? I say run and leave Victor to his own demise, you know? You don't have to be the fastest, you just don't want to be the slowest one. Well, about the only thing but Gerard will be able to do is attack with his mace. So, reluctantly, he's going to step up, take a swing at him, and tell Victor, the victorious, to ready his bow and arrow. We'll see how this goes. So, taking the 2 20s, I'm going to roll. Oh, I got a 20. That's a direct hit. A 4 plus 1 is 5. That put a little scratch on this thing, but not much. This beast stands on all 6, all the way up upright, and they can actually see the massive size of this thing now. And it does not look happy. It's eyeing Gerard with very angry insect eyes, and its mandibles open and its tentacles begin to move as it's getting ready to chomp down and probably rip his head off his shoulders. Hopefully it misses. Let's see. It rolls a 12. Yes. Luckily, Gerard is able to dodge its attack as its massive mandibles crush into the stone floor, breaking off pieces of rock as they fly, and they can hear them ricocheting off of the room's stone earthen walls. So now it's Victor's turn. Victor's gonna jump back this way to keep out of direct firing range of that thing, and he's going to fire off with his bow and arrow. Hope to God he actually hits the mark. So let's see here. Well, 15 and Victor has an attack bonus of 2, which will bring him up to 17. Not close, but no cigar. The arrow, he just wasted an arrow, is all he did. So it'll go back to Gerard, the cleric. Swings with his mace again. Come on, come on. 15, and Gerard has an attack bonus of 1. 16. He misses. The armor, natural armor on this beast is just much too strong to penetrate that time. So now it's the beast's turn. It pulls its massive mandibles out of the earthen floor, looks up at Gerard, and hisses with anger as it begins its attack. And it rolls a 15. And it's never good. It's never good. Ooh. Dang it. Keep dropping my dice here, guys. Okay. So I'm going to tone down the damage just a little bit here. Otherwise, this game's going to be over really quick. So, Gerard takes 2 points of damage. And the way I'm imagining it, possibly one of the mandibles tears through his armor and scuffs his shoulder bone. And blood spurts as Gerard screams out, "Victor, do your job and kill the thing." Alright, speaking of that, it's Victor's turn. He's gonna roll, and let's hopefully he hits this time. He rolled a 14 and a 6. No. If you're curious, this has an AC of 18. So that is another miss by Victor, who is just throwing arrows away. Now it goes back over to Gerard. Come on, Gerard. Ooh, 19. He actually hit the beast this time. He rolled an 8 on a 1d8 plus 1 is 9. Nice. Which brings the creature down to 11 hit points. It screams out in agony and pain as part of its exoskeleton is crushed into its body, and black insect blood begins to ooze from the wound. Or so I imagine it. The insect turns at him and eyes him again with an evil look, completely confused as to why the cleric is putting a butt kicking on him and not the fighter. He rolls an 11 and misses the cleric entirely. It goes back over to Victor, the unvictorious. Will he actually get an arrow in this thing this time? No. He should just empty out his entire quiver and snap every single arrow one by one over his knee. Alright, back over to Gerard. And Gerard's going to attack again. Oh, he got a 17 plus his bonus, 18. He hits. Rolls his 1d8. He gets an 8 again, plus 1 is 9. Which takes the beast down to 2. It wobbles a little bit on all 6 legs and catches its balance and then rebalances itself and hisses and goes to set its attack again on Gerard. And it rolls a 1 and it doesn't hit. And now it's Victor, the unvictorious' turn. And he misses again. What a surprise. It's back to Gerard. Ooh, 13 and a 20. We are definitely taking the 20. He rolls his damage. 2 plus 1 is 3. That's more than enough. The creature is defeated. As Gerard delivers the final blow, his mace comes down and cracks across the creature's head, splitting its exoskeleton around its head, and insect brains and blood begin to ooze from its skull, and it falls lifeless to the floor. Victor, the unvictorious, hangs his head in shame and turns to exit the room, as he should. So, in the lair, they don't find a whole lot, and just to be on the fair side, we'll do a perception check. A 5, yep. They don't find anything of any value in there other than just human remains that this creature has been luring and devouring to stay alive on. They make their way back out to this area. It's at that point that it dawns on them as they are looking, and if you remember when I said they first came into this area, they noticed that it didn't look like it was a man-made cavern. It's when it dawns on them that this insect has been burrowing through the earth, creating all these tunnel systems in these little areas, which would explain all the human remains that are there. And it would probably explain what happened to the kingdom and all the people that were there at one time, and why so many people avoid the ruins. They then decide there's only one way left to go, and it's this way. Uncertain, they venture into the darkness. As they continue down the corridor, they notice a cool, damp breeze. As they walk further down the corridor, it comes to an abrupt stop, and it makes a quick jog to the left and goes into this area. Once they get into this area, they can hear the sound of water running, and they notice a waterfall. And the sunlight, what appears to be morning sunlight, because the sun has just now risen, is glistening off of the water. And they see these sparkling objects at the bottom of the waterfall, because they're on the inside of the waterfall. As they walk over to it, they find 4 large gold nuggets that appears that the river has washed down from the riverbed and had accumulated in the bottom of this waterfall. They pick up the gold and put it into their backpacks. As they exit through the waterfall, and the refreshing feeling of the water, cold water running over them, washing away the blood from their wounds, and they step outside. They walk up a little ledge that leads into a little footpath on top of a hill. When they get to the top of the hill, they can see the ruins over here and the way that the river runs around to the way that they come in. And then they notice multiple holes in the area where this insect has been burrowing and luring people into their deaths. They are undecided of how many more insects there may be in this area, and they decide at this point the proper thing to do is to return to the temple, have the pendant destroyed, and of course inform them of the insect infestation in this area that could possibly be spreading to other villages and devouring people. And there you have it, YouTube. There's a solo RPG. Now I want to recap, as I said in the beginning, you want to start out small and then grow bigger with your campaign sizes. And I think that really hit home on that, to where, if you think about that campaign, there was the encounter at the river, the encounter at the door to the keep, the pit trap, and then there were only 3 rooms in that dungeon. Out of the 3, there was only 2 of them that actually had encounters, and that took 2 hours. So right there, small adventure, 2 hours. There was a lot of, stuff that happened. You got to see how I use Mythic and the way that I use Mythic. Now, of course, I wrote that adventure out completely before I started, just because I'm making the video, so I have to be able to know which way things are gonna go. I think it would be relatively boring for me to sit here and play a complete solo and say, oh, hold on, I gotta go find this book and find this section for this and this and this and this and this, and then you would have these, spouts of waiting 5 minutes or so before I got back to the video. Then of course there's the coffee breaks and everything else that go along with it. Anyway, so I decided to do it that way. But all the key elements I talk about in all my videos are there to show you and demonstrate how I do them. So first thing, you want the story. Why are your characters there? Why is everybody together in that one area? What brought them there? And where does it go from that point? Go to that point, I mean, is it going to be a wilderness? Are you going to a dungeon? What is the point of them traveling here to this? Then you're going to go into your scene 2, which you would assign your chaos factor and start your role playing. Now, as you've seen with the adventure that I did, they defeated that large insect that was eating the people. They came out, and when it came out on the grassy ledge by the waterfall and were able to see the full landscape underneath them, and start to understand that these things have infested this area and are luring people in to eat them. That adds into the antagonist. And I put that in there to make an example of the larger campaign. That's how you keep going. That's the antagonist. So in order to make this even a larger campaign, it wouldn't be about going after just the insect. You would want to trace it back down to the queen and go in there and destroy the queen, which may take you a long time to be able to go through this network and survive this many insects to be able to get to that. But anyways, that's an adventure that could go on for quite a while. But I hope it really helped you guys understand how I do things. I want you to feel like you're actually getting something out of this channel, and that's the way that I want to feel like you guys are getting something out of this channel. So I recapped on, of course, your story, your chaos factors. You can see as I started out at the beginning of the video, I used one 20-sider, and you see how that went. And in my video, I brought up the reason why I used 2 20-siders. And that's the reason it actually does balance it out when you're playing solo, because you want your characters to be heroic. If you're just to use one-on-one 20-sider, sometimes it doesn't always work out that well. And 9 times out of 10, you just start cycling through characters really fast. So I suggest using the two 20-siders, roll them, take the highest one. And keep your encounters the way that the encounters are. So I covered the mythic system. You've seen how I did that. You've seen how I laid everything out and I used it. You've seen the use of the dice, how I number the encounters. Now I have a lot of miniatures, and as I explained in the beginning of this video, you know, I have a lot of miniature terrain pieces and stuff like that. So don't think you have to go out and do anything that elaborate. I already have them. I've accumulated them over the years, and that's the reason why I like to set up my boards that way. Because my RPG and style is like half miniatures and half RPG. It's kind of a hybrid system that I put together that I really enjoy. But for you guys out there, you make it the way that you want to make it. And, you know, getting regular 6-sided dice, just the old school black and white dice, you know, you can assign those for your encounters on your boards relatively cheap, and it works very well. And a lot of times, that's what I will use when I do my solo RPGs. It just works out, you know, well, for me, it's a quicker and cleaner way of actually doing solo RPGs. Now, as far as terrains, like I said, you could get a Chessex map and the dry erase markers, and you could actually draw all your stuff on there in order to play it and have everything right there in front of you. That's one way to go about doing it. Let me see if I have one right here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You guys may have them, you may not. This is what I'm talking about. As you can see, it's a vinyl mat. You have the squares on one side, and then you got your GeoGrid on the other. I do use this quite a bit, believe it or not. I don't use dry erase on it. I will use this for normally my wilderness encounters. I'll just set the trees around on it and stuff like that if I'm playing a quick, you know, part on an outdoor. The dungeons, you know, as you've seen with the dungeon tiles, if you can see up here, right here, you know, I bought a few of them D&D sets and they come with them. And I explained what a value those things are. You know, if you're just getting into it, they may seem a little pricey, but if you think about it, you know, you pay the money, you get all those miniatures, you get those terrain tiles, you get all that great stuff. The game alone is fun, and it's set up to where one person can play the game. You can play it entirely by yourself as a miniature game and start to learn how to do miniatures. And then it doubles for your role-playing, so you get these great terrain tiles to go with it. Now, if you don't want to go that route, you can always go and get grid paper and just sit down and draw everything out. Use coloring pencils to color it in, or markers, or, you know, what have you. You know, as I said before, you're only limited to your imagination. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, that a question that was one of my subscribers asked to me, and they said they got confused on, was the movement. So I'm going to recap on that very quickly if you don't get this. With movement, how I do mine is I do all medium-sized characters, humans, orcs, half-elves, elves, all the way down to the dwarf. The dwarf is the cutoff point, is 30 feet. A dwarf, a gnome, down is 20 feet. Okay, so when you look at the grid, and whether you're playing the GeoGrid or you're playing just your old school classic square, 1 square equals 1 inch is 5 feet. Now, you don't have to buy anything like this in order to do that. As a matter of fact, what I did for myself for miniatures, and I made this a while back, and it was strictly for miniatures, and it makes stuff easier. You go out and you buy yourself a piece of wood rod. Get this at hardware store, really cheap. You can, anywhere they sell lumber, you can buy this, and you might spend on the high side $1. And then you get yourself a black permanent marker, and then you measure off the inches just like I have it here, if you can see that, and then I write it off in the feet increments, and that way you can lay it on the table and mark off how your encounters are moving, how your characters are moving, and just boom, 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 boom. That's one way to do it. You don't even have to do it that way. Heck, everybody has a ruler around the house somewhere. If you have kids, I guarantee you got a ruler somewhere. And even if you don't have kids, you probably still have a ruler laying around somewhere. You can always use a ruler. Lay that sucker down, and if you figure 1 inch is 5 feet, you got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 6 inches is your 30 feet. Your double movement is 1 foot. There's another way you could use it as well. You know, use your imagination a little bit when it comes to terrain. Don't be afraid to experiment with different things. As a matter of fact, you know, the coverings you've seen that I had down, the green covering to begin with in the beginning of the video, that's actually a floor mat that I found at Walmart years back. I got a black one and a green one. They were on sale for like $5. They work out great to put down on the table. You know, the green for the grass and the black is cool to set the dungeon tiles on, and it really helps everything pop out. And I use them all the time just for that. That's all they're for. You know, keep your eyes peeled. Be a little creative. Let's say you want to do an encounter that's in the Arctic. Why not use an old bed sheet? Just lay it down across the table, flat white. There you go, instant snow. And you can measure it out. Or go ahead and buy yourself some of this. So, and you know, like I explained to you, it's really important with a solo RPG to be able to have a visual reference on the table to be able to look at. And I think with this game showing you that really made that very apparent. I mean, you could see it, and you know, and just like I said, you can set everything up. You can number all your encounters. If you run out of time and you got to come back to it the next day, your encounters are still numbered. You know exactly right where to go. Just kind of like, you know, pushing pause on the video game, walking away, and coming back later to it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for subscribing from the bottom of my heart. You guys have made this channel great. And, I mean, it makes me very happy to be able to do this for you guys. I am very humbled, very, very humbled, and thank you very much. And with that being said, I got a few parting words before I go. First thing is, if you like any of my videos, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give me a like, or leave me a comment. I will get to your questions. I promise you I will get to your questions, and I will try to answer them to you. The last thing I got to say before I leave, now, you have to remember, the secret to gaming, the secret to having a good game, and the secret to a happy life is proper caffeination, my friends. With that being said, I think I'm going to end this video. I will see you guys next time, and thank you from the bottom of my heart, guys, once again, for subscribing to my channel and being so supportive. Thank you very much. I'll see you later.